Hello, traders. Happy Friday. It's Friday, February 27th, and we're here for the daily review. I was not in front of my computer today, so I'm going to see what happened with y'all as George goes over everything. So, over to you, George.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob. Yeah. Sorry about yesterday. We had a little video faux pas, but today I think we're okay. So let's begin with the ES here, and what we had talked about. It's not a whole lot to discuss. Market stayed very much range bound, very just consolidated today. So we had drawn a little box for the trade room over here, kind of showed the decision point that the market had made up around 82.75 on the ES, and really where the second target, I'll just expand this a little bit here for you. All right. And the second target associated with that decision point. So we got our decision point that we had found, and then that was all in the pre-market. So they did have news at 8:30 today. So let's find the 8:30 news. So here's the 8:30 bar right here. And right about 8:35 a.m., they had already reached first target down here around 8:52. So that was already, again, an hour roughly before we even enter the trade room and start. But as always, it's important to know, where are you at in the mix of things and what to expect. Because if they've already gone through the whole process and they've really accomplished everything, then there's not a whole lot else we're looking for. But that wasn't the case. So we had 8:30. So here we go. Let's find our 9:20 bar here. So here's our 9:20 bar right here, this red candle. So this was the discussion really at the start of the morning, was that we had scenario number one, which is kind of the bigger picture scenario, and targets to the downside were all the way down as far as 825, 826. But in the interim, we're kind of playing with this current smaller scenario, which is right here. So there was some options to hopefully get something out of this. And what the market gave us is, not only did they give us a rubber band, and again, if you watch the videos that are attached and linked at the bottom of this video, you can kind of understand how we trade certain levels, rubber bands being one of them. But they also had a minor has to hold, which is kind of hard to see. It kind of got buried. There we go. I'll just move it around. There you go. We also got a minor has to hold basically within 2 ticks of the same level. So that was enough for me personally. And again, there was nothing you could do already from the beginning of the morning. They had already made a pretty significant amount of their move. And the reason we draw these big giant boxes is to kind of give people reference. I, for one, like the idea of buy low, sell high. So the real question generally comes up is, where is low and where is high? So the box sort of helps us gauge, if we get further down into this by a significant percentage, then you're in the low side. If you're way up here, you're on the high side. So pretty simple. I, for one, took the long this morning off the minor has to hold. I had to endure a little bit of a wick. It happened very quickly, so I didn't have to suffer too much. Did it really fast. And then when the 950 candle came down and confirmed it for the second time, that was really all that I needed. And that minor has to hold was associated with these upside targets that we had called out. So for me personally on the ES, that was it. I was one and done. I got in at the minor has to hold, and I was completely flat by the time we got to the rubber band back up here at 88. Actually, I didn't even wait for the 88. I think I got out around like 86. I was finished. And then the remaining of the day was really simple. I had said very plainly that, look, if we don't get back through, if we don't push through the 88 for the remainder of the day, that's fine. You'll get at least back to here. So this 55 quarter. And it took quite a while. But if you look over here, right around, what is this, about 2:45 in the afternoon, we finally got to that target. And that was it, folks. It was a very straightforward day in that sense. Yeah, as long as we didn't get above the rubber band, and they just remain below the decision point, which we talked about that, about 10:15 in the morning. So yeah, if I just drew this out again to the long side, we finally did get to the decision point later in the day. So yeah, that's kind of the ES for you in a nutshell. I think we had it pegged pretty good.
You say that's a pretty stress-free day. Actually, it was a
yeah. It was helpful that they just sort of shot it straight up. At least for me, they shot it straight up in the morning, but it didn't stop anybody from taking the counter trend off the rubber band. And for anybody, maybe this is your first video or you just don't watch a lot of these, you can see just how often, like even this is a rubber band down here. So you can see how often we've got the market pegged, not necessarily timing wise, that's nearly impossible to do, but we got it pegged as far as price. So even just playing the rubber bands, one up, one down, and then you just got to figure out like, what are you trying to get out of the market, and make it realistic. If you're looking for 100 points on a day where I've drawn a box that's nowhere close to that, then good luck. Let's see, NQ. NQ is similar, again, little difference. Let me blow this thing up. That was too much. All right. Same thing. Let's find the 8:30 news here. So 8:30. Here we go. So here's our 8:30 news. Same deal. We were already inside of a big picture scenario. An hour again before we start talking, they had already achieved two, I should say, two of the three targets, all in the pre-market. So a little rough to start the morning off with on the NQ because if you're looking buy low, sell high, you got to get down further. And the only thing that we had starting off here at 9:20 is they also had a minor has to hold here down right, oddly similar, very close to the rubber band of the bigger picture trade. So I, for one, was hoping to get in closer down here, just undershot it by way too much. What is that? About 13 points. So not something I try to front run often by 13 points.
Yeah, this is one of those days where you at least caught the ES, but the NQ probably didn't pick you up down there.
Nope, didn't get me in at all. Not at least there. So we had to just kind of wait a little bit. See, 9:40. They gave us a minor has to hold. So this was perfect. I didn't take it because I was watching the ES mostly because I was in that trade. But we did post this. The minor has to hold was bang on. Hit that thing, tanked. And then so if I follow it like in succession, we're nowhere close to the minor has to hold here at 9:35. We get the minor has to hold in this candle here at 9:45. That was the one I was hoping for. So I was trying to go long and it just didn't get there. So after it shot through, the minor has to hold. I called out that if you wanted to, you can take, you just have to increase your risk. You got to start going for more aggressive entries if you still want to try to get into a trade frequently enough. So I said 860, which was the kids at that time. So it's not like I'm just making up numbers. The kids happened to come in as really the key area that was going to be the next much higher level. I mean, much, much higher level if you consider, 768 as like the first potential option. So, 100 points nearly. But nevertheless, it is what it is. So we called that out. I did get in here at the 860 and I just took all three targets. And by the time we got to the rubber band, I was finished. This one was a little different though on the NQ as the decision point. Again, we had this called out around 10:10 this morning and it finally got there. You can see right about 2 hours later. So same deal. And this is why you try to correlate the two markets often enough. Because if I looked here at 12:10 and just try to figure out like where was the ES at 12:10 in the afternoon, well, here we are. We're simply revisiting the rubber band. So they help give confluence to one another as to whether or not it's actually a pretty decent trade quite often. So otherwise, it was really a pretty simple market, but good Lord, they just went sideways after after they took their first shot at a little after 10 o'clock.
Short and sweet for a Friday. Hopefully some people were able to grab that. Like I said, I wasn't there, so now I'm wishing I was, because that was some pretty clean price action. So.
Yep.
Okay.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah. Well, everybody have a good weekend. George, thanks for your time again, and we'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, guys, review the videos in the bottom. If you want any more information, you can comment down below. And of course, watch any part of what we do and go to the website. All right.
Okay, thanks, guys.